And now for something completely different. It's in the middle of this game design, and I decided I want to do a code challenge. And I picked a challenge I wanted to do, and I think I'm gonna record it just in case anyone's interested in this work. So my uh, coding challenge sandbox, which you should find a link in the description or the post that I made, whichever. It's just got this bunch of code, and now all this code does is create a frame, add a text icon to it, creates a new game, which is this black image in the background here, 640 by 700 pixels, and it's that many pixels. Then it initiates the game, starts the game, creates a main menu, which is this at the top, and the status bar. And in between the main menu and the status bar, it starts running the game here. Alright, so we've got our blank canvas anyway, because game is a canvas, but I'm just copying this all over, so I don't use the sandbox. I actually create a project for this. I've just copied these over here, but a few of them have got errors because they're referencing the previous package, so I just need game from here. And I'm gonna refactor that copy and sort these errors out. So as you can see, this is the game we just imported, but still says sandbox 1 on it. And this is actually the challenge related to the Fourier series. Oh, that's gonna be should I spell it right? Coding challenge Fourier. And if we want to be really specific about it, it's 125th coding challenge from the coding train on YouTube, which is pretty good. It's high level math stuff, but he does in these coding challenges use a lot of JavaScript, which is alright if you want to run it in the browser, I suppose, and if you're a JavaScript expert, but I prefer plain Java, so we're going to be doing this in Java today. This is our game class, just where we set things up. Got key and the mouse input there. We may not need these, but just for a sandbox, I set them up. And again, this is referencing sandbox, which should be CC Fourier. And I've not copied my code in there either. And that's why they're going to give me errors. But that'll be next. I'll leave the system printouts for game because it is actually game. There are a couple of options here: update 60 times per second, or if you're on a fast computer and that's too fast for you, update 30 times a second, but it's either or, you can't have both. Additional updates can go in there, frames per second, UPS are being updated and stored in a string, ready to be drawn out. So this coding train lecturer has got a draw, and he uses an update as well, and he also creates a canvas in a setup above. I've done it slightly different. I've extended canvas. I've implemented runnable so we can use a thread to do the updating. That's basically what that is. So I've solved my create canvas 600 by 400 line of code in this challenge just by having this class, but we're not actually going to use this class, not in that way anyway. If we get past the run, we're gonna take and update another class, probably challenge, Oh, excuse me. And this is where we run the stuff out. We're getting the buffer strategy there, checking, make sure check buffer strategy is null. If it's null, then create it. If true, if not, then it already exists. And get the graphics or the painter object G from the buffer strategy. This is the start of the graphics. We convert G to a graphics 2D object, set the anti-aliasing, and translate the canvas. Now I've added an additional 10 here to the width of the background image so we don't have to translate the canvas. Depending on what system you run this on, you may find you need to translate, so I left it. After that, we're just drawing the FPS in yellow at the bottom of the screen. 10 on the X, game height -40 on the Y. Here is where we would render other classes and where I'll put the other class in to render, which is challenge. Challenge will probably be rendered here, and it may need the game, so just change that. Should really change that in the sandbox, but anyway, that's going to be passed to the game and the G object after it's been converted to a G2D. Once all that rendering is done, then we're going to dispose it, clear the G, and then show the buffer strategy and draw everything that's in the G2D. Alright, that's easy enough to explain. Not using sand in any of these, so these are just additional things that I've left in. Reset game time, we might use that. Obviously it's not game, it's a challenge, but we might want a timer on the screen. We'll figure that out. But that's the render, aka draw method, or draw function, as in the coding challenge. This is just the update. And these are thread management. So we've got our run thread, stop thread, and start thread. And that just deals with the runnable in the game. So we can update 60 times a second. And this initiates any variables that the game needs and then starts it, which is fired here when a new game is created. It's giving me errors here about this, so let me figure this out. It's the sandbox code. I just need to paste that in there. But then I need to change the name again to Fourier Courier. So probably best if I do that. Grab that. Delete all that. And we can start getting in there with this. So that's going to be a CCF. Although we never use this variable here, this is what kicks it all off in the main. So we create an object of this class, and everything goes from there. Part of creating that object though, we set the icon. We use a texture class to grab an image instead of doing image IO read and all that. We have an actual class to do the get image. So as long as you got a file path that exists in res, so it'll be res, then icon folder, and then the image without the PNG on the end, and it should be PNG the image. As long as you've got that and it's in the right folder, you can grab the image. If not, you will get errors, and you can comment that out if that happens. But as long as your image exists and you haven't got PNG on the end there, you should be alright. So set main height, get main height, self-explanatory, default to 700 if they're not set on the height, 640 on the width. So bear these two in mind on the get height and get main width. If you do change the size of the screen, the frame, which you can do in the variables above main width, you do need to change these defaults. So I know the canvas of this actual challenge is 600 by 400. So we are a bit high on the height and a bit long on the width. But that's alright because we can scale things down. But yeah, bear that in mind. Definitely change these as well as any above. We'll get the status bar in a second. And the main menu. That is right, and then there's one more. So that should be all the errors gone in there. Nope, I was wrong. There's always one that sneaks through, so main menu doesn't know where it is yet, and I'm not surprised. We've got a few here with errors. I think they're all looking for game, which has its own errors, or had its own errors. It's only erroneous because there's sunglass key event. I never use sunglass anything, so that's incorrect. This is not Sandbox game, this is Fourier. Alright, so that should be clear now apart from the key event. Just gonna ask me for an import any second now. There we go. And it's all event key event, not sunglass event, which NetBeans puts in automatically if you create a new project with this, or copy the code in at least. So yeah, those two errors are common in main menu. If it starts telling you need a final on the game, don't do it. Key input's got the same sort of error. It's Fourier here. Hope I'm saying that right. And there's no more errors in there, and the texture will be the same. If you do come up with these errors and you don't know what to write here, delete the whole import, and then wherever you got the error in the code, add the import again, but it's going to be coding challenge something game. Maybe sandbox game, or if you're using the sandbox, or if you changed it. That's the line of code to change. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 classes in our basic source folder, and the same in the sandbox. But in the sandbox we've got res with a couple of icons in there, coding challenge S for sandbox. But that's it, and that's just to add to the frame. You're welcome to change those to anything you like, but then you got to change the code in game. I believe it is get icon. Must be in the Fourier. Yeah, this class here is where you build the frame, and it uses game title and version, so you need to update those as you go along if you're making more than one version. But yeah, set icon in there. You change the icon here, make sure you give it the right name here, and then your frame will work. He says, here we go. Yeah, your frame won't work at this point because I don't have this image. This is in the sandbox. We don't have a res in here, but also in the sandbox I've got a library called Vector Maths. Now you need to install Java 3D to get Vector Maths, and I'm not giving you the download for that. Maybe in the description, but I can't, package Java 3D with this. maybe you'll get the library. But I do need to copy those over. So this is the sandbox. We need vector maps and the resources. And then I need to find the right one and just paste them in there. Alright, so now our project folder in NetBeans has got a resource folder with a couple of icon images, a 16 and a 32, because I couldn't remember which ones were needed. And then a vector maps jar for libraries. But still, it wouldn't run now because they're not added to the build path. So right click on that, properties, then add the folder to the source package folders. Now remember to get the right one. I'm not in Sandbox, I'm in Fourier. It's the res folder you want, which will include everything that's in the res. To add the library, so to the library tab, compile time libraries, add jar. Again, I'm not in Sandbox, but I do want vector maps. So I'll go into the right folder and I pasted vector maps in there. You won't find that in your projects unless you downloaded Java 3D and then copied it over from your install folder to your projects. You get vector maps, Java 3D and Java FX, I think, one of those. There's 3 of them anyway when you do the download. So now we have a resource folder in this package. It's got the icon image that's looking for the 16 version. I don't know if we change that to 32 if it'd make a difference. But here's our 16 pixel icon. And it also comes up down here as well. But just as a trial and error thing, let's see what the 32 looks like. It's squashed, it's a little squashed compared to the 16. The 16 is a bit bigger. And I think that's just the way it was on the canvas when I saved the image, so we'll revert back to the 16 there anyway. Save. So anyway, our new project works. We're not using key import, main menu, probably won't be using texture either. But just to explain the texture class, we've got a texture map and a render map. The renders are arrays of pixels, and these textures the buffered images. We've got a render file name, render width, render height, render image. Then the same for the buffered image. If you want to load a render, you would use load bitmap. But if you wanted to grab a texture, an image, a buffered image, you do texture or new texture, file name, and then the get image, and that would return the buffered image of that file. If that makes any sense. The loading the bitmap doesn't take any pixel that's bright pink into consideration. It's a specific pink, it's double F, 00, double F on the hex, and if it comes up with that, then it's not even a color, it's just alpha, I believe. Yeah. So that's just so you can get transparency in things, or images that aren't exactly square. And that's self-explanatory. We use the file name .png here, so you have to have the full file path. But don't worry about the PNG when you're calling new texture. As we do here, new texture, get image, and that just returns the buffered image for the icon. And then this icon is set to the frame icon at the top. Yeah. where all the rest of the frame is set up. Then the problem with this frame at the moment is when you first start it, you do have to click in the center of the screen to get focus, because I've not done the request focus, so maybe that's something someone else could add. Anyway, onto these Fouriers. We've got this running but it's the wrong size screen for a start. I mean, we do need to stretch it a bit out. 640 is a bit short, but this guy is using 600, so I'm going to leave it as it is for now. We're now going to try and create these transforms. So I'm going to go in this challenge class, where I've already set up a few variables. Challenge number. So if we're setting up more than one challenge with this actual project, we'll give it a number, and this will be number 1. If I set up a second variation of this challenge or another challenge in there, that'll be 2. And then we will set up the challenges with a switch. We use setup, and the challenge number we pass in as an argument. Not sure we're going to need width and height in here, so I could comment those out and just have the challenge number, I think. But these are optional. You may want that width and height in there. But yeah, okay. So that means I've got to comment these two. It's the end of those don't exist. So just the challenge number and then the setup will activate this switch. And you can add numerous cases to this switch, but then you've got to make numerous setups for each of the challenges. So bear that in mind. So don't need to set up any variables in this as far as I can see. I've left these in just to demonstrate how these work. Get image in particular. First tick, last tick, handled in the tick obviously. But then if you got any timers, the update there as well. I think both render and tick are being called in game. Where's render? That's there. Yeah, we can call challenge tick in here. So that will update 60 times a second when I uncomment that, but we haven't finished the tick method yet, so we'll leave that. Then we've got the render here, and that's already got the challenge render. So we do need to create this challenge object in game, is one of the things we need to do. I'm not going to do it in the thread management. I may do it in the initiate. That's starting. We're creating objects here already, so I'm comfortable doing it in there. I just leave the initiate there. What should we say? Yeah. See how it looks in challenge equals new challenge. But then we've got some arguments to put in. Challenge 1, isn't it? Then we create the field and import challenge. And let's add import for coding challenge. That'll be the one. Then we need a field. It should be created at the top. And that's all before we start. So if we've got any variables to set up on the challenge, I think we need to do it when it starts, when it's created. Excuse me. So yeah, we're doing that here, initiate and set up. So whatever variables we need for the challenge will go in here if they need set up in the first instance. I know there's quite a few local variables in this, but then the render, we've got the render here as well, although we are passing in game in our render, I believe. Yeah, and we don't need that. unless we need game for a specific reason. There's no reason to pass on. So that can come out now, and that's going to be rendering. And then with the tick, got no arguments on the tick, that'll work as well. So that's all I would add to game to get this really started. So we're rendering every 60 times every second, and we're ticking so many times a second as well. I can't remember if it's the same. And we just set up a new challenge in the initiate after everything else has been created. Seems fine. So back into this challenge. So in our draw, in our render, one of the first things it's got is background 0. So I just type this in RES there, and that basically sets the background to black. How we would do this in here, there's a couple of things we need to do first though. See, I'm going to grab some code from other projects, so bear with me on this. And I'm designing this game with some crazy enemies in, and they rotate in their render. If I can find it. Yeah. And to do that, they need I created a custom G2D object and then a theme transform, which grabs the original transform that's passed through to the render and keeps a track of it, so we can set it back to that afterwards. And I think I'm going to do the same with this. This way we set it back, just in case we need to rotate or translate. And I know we're going to have to draw ovals and things like that, so I'm going to grab that line of code, and I'm going to do that before the background. I didn't grab that line of code. Copy. And import a theme transform from AutoGeom. Yeah, just so you get that right. It's from AutoGeom, a theme transforms. And they work backwards and they're very confusing. So don't ask me anything about them, I ain't got a clue. And this is G2D enemy red, this is challenge. Was it Fourier? We're in challenge, so makes sense. So that's our new G2D object, which we'll be using to draw this background, which will just be a fill. Is it fill rectangle? Is it XY? X, Y, width and height. So what are our width and height? Well, we add them in game. And we set this buffered image up. Copy that over to challenge, and just throw these in there. Instead of even writing lines of code, just reusing the ones we got. So that will fill a rectangle of whatever color G2D challenge is set to. Excuse me. So just to be extra, set color. And do we want it yellow? Let's go for red. And just to start with, I'm gonna half these values, just so I can show you that that rectangle actually exists, and where it is, and how big it is. It should start in the top corner, but it should only go halfway down and halfway across, the width and height. So you can see our different drawers, our different render classes kind of combining here, but showing that they are separate. So we've got our game being rendered in the background here from the image, the pixels, an image full of black pixels, and then we've got this drawn on top, just to show us that our challenge render is actually working. If I change that to yellow or whatever, that'll be the same. But yeah, we're now drawing on top of our black background, which we already have. So don't really need to do this bit, but let's say we didn't have a background set, we would it'd just be straight out, but it'd be the full width and the full height. But that's not going to really show up on this black background, unless we don't render this image out in here, which is always an option. Draw background, image full of black pixels. We're rendering it to the game width plus 10 in here, and I think that's because there's some sort of offset. So I would be wary of removing that and putting the 10 pixels in there, but it's always an option. So what color did we leave this? This is black, but the black background has now disappeared, and this is still half size. This is challenge, this is game without the image. But I think we've got two sets of FPS. Little error in the code on my part there. But yeah, just to bring that back. We are drawing on top of a black background to start with, so I don't even need to do this fill background, because that bit's done. And it took a lot longer on that than I thought it would, but anyway, here we go. So this is to translate the canvas that we're actually drawing on here. G2D challenge, translate, D2D challenge is actually a canvas in this respect. We can fill a rectangle on that canvas as long as we give it a width and a height, an X and a Y. But we can also translate the canvas as well, and that's what this character's doing in coding train. I don't know his name, so yeah, we're just going to copy him and translate it 200 and 200. Now, because he's using JavaScript, I don't know if he's translating the canvas, the image, or what at this point. So we could actually use this as an X and Y of where to start drawing instead of translating the canvas, and that might take that out as well. But anyway, after he's translated, he creates a let radius, and that's equal to 100. But there's no such thing as let in Java. But we do know that 100 would be an integer, so I'm just going to declare that as a local int. Right, now this is the cool bit. So the next line of code, he's got a stroke, no fill, and ellipse. And in the ellipse, it's got the 0, 0 radius, oops, times 2, which is a circumference. Yeah. So he's basically drawing a circle there with no fill. 255 on the stroke, I believe he's got there. But that's just the line on the outside of it. The line weight, perhaps. Who knows? The line color, 255. The stroke, set the stroke to black. Or is that set white? I think that's set color white. Just so you're drawing it. So we're going to need a set color. We don't need a no fill. So that deals with the stroke. Set color to white. The no fill and the ellipse, they come together in Java. We just call it a circle. So it's draw circle. Is it just circle? Or draw oval? Oh, try it that way. So radius times 2 on the on the circumference there means the width and the height of the circle are going to be radius times 2 as well, I suspect. And this is x and y, which is going to be 0 as we translate it. But instead of translate, we could put this at 200, 200, and it wouldn't make no difference. But this is drawing an oval without a fill instead of draw fill oval. And I'm getting some update reminders that I don't want. Shut up. And we've got to draw oval radius times 2 for the width, radius times 2 for the height. And it's non-filled, so that should be those lines of code that way. Alright, let's run that and see what we get. We should really translate back at some point or reset the transform, but we'll come back to that. So I'm just looking at the code I can see from his sketch. And there we have our circle. I have no idea what color that is. It looks white in some parts, but grey. Gradient in some others. Wow. So we have our circle. It is translated 200 from the edge that way and 200 down from there. So I'm not sure we need it there. His canvas is 600 across, 400 down. That's a pretty big circle. That should be the radius of 100. Is that about right? Well, that's 200. And that looks about the same distance from the edge of the screen to the start of the circle as it does from the start of the circle to the edge. So I'm going to say that's correct. My maths is correct on this occasion. So we've got our initial circle. Wow. Then we've got a few more to do in here as far as lines of code. So we've done these lines of code here. I should really take this background bit out, but I could put translated to. And then have the translator code underneath. Oh. I guess just for good measure we should put the line of code in. Let radius. And that was translated to as well. Yeah. Just so we've got a record of the old code and what we're actually doing now. Alright. So after we've drawn the oval, the ellipse, whatever. It's another let x, let y. So these are in x, in y. And they equal something. not 0, but radius times the math cosine of time. We don't have time yet, so we'll have to figure that one out. And the y is the same, but it's cosine. Sine, I mean. Yep. So luckily for us, these maths operators are contained in Java as well as JavaScript, so that's easy enough. And then our time is updated. Although our time shouldn't be updated in here, this is bad programming. Our time should be updated in the tick, and I think I'm going to do that. It's a global variable time, so challenge time there, we've already initiated a local time, but this is plus equals 0.01. Now I've already set that as an integer, I'm pretty sure, so that will need to be changed, and we need one of those at the end. Guess not. Guess it don't mind that. So challenge time is being updated every tick, same as every render. Things are being drawn. So we just need to plug this in here. And now it doesn't like the fact that challenge time is an int, and it should be a double. So I put it as an integer here. Just going to change that to a double. As we're increasing by where is it? 0.01. That could be a double, it might be a float, I don't know. Now what problems do we have here? X and Y's. It's possible these X and Y's are doubles as well, but they're definitely local. Alright. Okay. I think that's right. Is it capital D? Can we do it now? I've just completely forgot how to declare doubles. That is bizarre. And we don't seem to have any problem with that at this point. But we're not plugging the X and Y into anything. I can't see any more code on the screen unless I hit play. So let's give that a go. I don't think this is going to change anything, but I don't think we've got any errors either. Alright, still no errors, but yeah, still got our original circle. Alright, I'm gonna mute this and see if I can find the rest of this code. My computer will let me. I better pause this while I wait. Alright, it's creating points. Another stroke. So underneath these X and Y's, so it's creating another ellipse. Don't know if we need a color. But this is a filled oval, in fact. Draw oval, draw rectangle, around rectangle, fill oval, that's what I'm looking for. It's different to those radiuses. It's not that. Seems to be creating a point. No, it's an ellipse. X, Y. And he's got 8 on the radius for his. So we need 8 in both of these. Is that right? No, we need 4 in both of those. Let's leave it 8 for now. Now what's fun with that? Oh, so, alright. The x and the y's are supposed to be integers. This should be fun. And what's radius? Should radius be the double? No, radius should definitely not be the double. Alright, challenge time needs to be a double there. But it needs to be an integer in here, is that right? We can cast these to integers to start with. If we get dodgy results, we can always come back to it. I've integered the wrong one. But I don't think these radiuses need it. Oh, that. Yeah. I could have put the n inside the cosine, but I want that to calculate first before I add it to these. Alright, so we've got another oval on the screen now. Should be x and y that we're calculating here. Based on time, which is increasing. But our ball is not moving around the circle like it's supposed to. So we have an issue. Are we updating? Are we taking challenge in game? We are. Alright, are we creating challenge in game? We are. We must be drawing. What am I on about? Alright. The set color white is not needed. The maths is off there, I believe. Because we're already on the same color. If we're filling it oval 8 by 8, it looked the right size, it just wasn't moving. And that's because our radius is always 100. Yeah, so I'm not very good at these maths cosine things. It's not really my kettle of fish. But I think the easiest one to do is make challenge time an integer. It's the only way around it. It's going to be a float. Does that make any difference? Not to here, but it is here. from a double to him. It's no longer a double. It's on about radius. Pretty sure. Okay. Do what you say. We'll change that back to a double. Alright. So our maths is wrong, look, it's well off. You know why our maths is off though? I'll give you a clue. To do with the translate. This ball is actually moving around this circle. You won't believe it. But its translate is off. So I'm going to take that translate out. Where have we put this to start with? And the X and the Y, wherever that is. So there's numerous ways to calculate this, and we need to get the right way out for these X and Y's. These X and Y's we're expecting integers. That's why we have to cast these as integers there. These aren't integers, these are doubles. That's a double. How are we going to do this? Well, first of all, let's try it without a translate, see if we get the right result. Because then both ovals should be drawn in the same spot. Oh, this should be drawn in the right spot, and this should be traveling around it. Meaning we should translate them both. Right. So you could say we're off 90 degrees on our angle there. It's something to do with our calculation. I knew this would go wrong. It's going to go horribly wrong now. And it won't to do with our translate as such. But if you're going to translate in here, you need to translate back. So we need to reset this transform at the end is my theory on the matter. Before we render again. Although order of render it says these should be both translated in the same place. But hey, who am I to argue with Java? Let's reset the transform after it's drawn this and then do it again. And we're still off. See, we're hovering around the 0, 0 of this circle, and we should be hovering around the center of the circle. Which means we're half off here and half off on the X. So we've got times 2 here. It's going to be the same. If I put 200 in there and 200 in there, which is 2 times the radius. That's completely wrong though. So I told you, it got horribly wrong. But yeah, going back to that original equation, our maths is off here by about 90 degrees. This is just a random fix if it works, but It's been working for me all week. That is plus 90 degrees. How close is that? Wow. Yeah. So when we first start, we're already translated 10 degrees, 10 pixels, and I would say that's what's off there. Which one do we translate? How do we translate back the 10 pixels in here? Strange. What about if we translate on there? That's going to be way off. That is. You know, white lines down the side of the screen or something. Yeah. But it didn't fix our problem there, so that weren't the case. And no worries on the black background. So we're off by nearly 90 degrees. I'm going to put 210 on that. Stop it. No idea why we're off 90 degrees every time. If that's the case. Alright. See how moving that translate didn't do anything, man. How we just translated everything. What we want to be doing is translating the oval, the large oval, into the right spot. Because for some reason we seem to be 10 pixels out. Wow. 10 pixels the wrong way. So is that minus 10? You translate in 200. Now we're off on the X. Probably by a similar amount. I mean on the Y. Try minus 10 there. Why that would work, I don't know. It's close. It really is close. That X is too far, minus 10. And the Y is too far, minus 10 too. But only slightly, we're very close at this point. I'm going to move the X back about 4 pixels. I'll do it 2 at a time, minus 8. Probably minus 8 there too. So it looks like we're going to have to do it even. I do believe we're gonna. But because we're casting it to an int, it's kind of bouncing off the line and back and forward, and our maths is terrible now. Alright, that's the first part of the code done. I'm happy with that. We do need to sort that maths out. If anyone's got any ideas on that, let me know. Sit there and watch that for hours, but I couldn't tell you if it's off or on or what. It seems to go over the line a couple of times. I do think it's another 2 pixels. Do a -6, -6. There are other ways of doing this, you know, 0, 0 here and then +6 there. But wow. Wow, we've had to add 90 degrees, I don't know. Now that's still bouncing around because of the integer value, but it's certainly more on point than it was. I'm happy with that. So we got the first start of our first Fourier series. Not bad. Alright. Great. So now it wants to draw a line between the two. Oh, lovely. We've already set our colours just before this oval here. On another G2D underscore challenge dot draw line. And that takes an XY value for the start of the line and an XY value for the end of the line. Or X1, X2. Right, so this is the first X. Where do we want this? We want these at 0, 0. And then we want the ends at X and Y. Which we've got here. So this should be fun if our maths is messing about now with the oval. The second oval is certainly going to mess about with this line. But this should be a line from the center of the circle out to where this other oval is. So as you can see, our line is back to front. But we seem to have given the X and Y the circumference and not the radius. What if I take that 90 degrees off? Are we off again? How bad's that going to look now? Wow. At least we know how to make a clock now, look. Then the line's not in the right shape. I think we need to do a -90 on the X and the Y. In here. Or -90 on the X and the Y now. What did I change then? So we need to change it back. Got it. +9. Is it X -90? Y -90? Let's try that. I have no idea why we're about to add it there, but it seems now we have to take it away everywhere as well. That's a good sign that the maths is wrong. Wow. Yeah, I did it the wrong direction. It is -90, but it's not off the X and the Y. That's the wrong end. Yeah, it needs to be -90 in the zeros. Because we've added 90 there. Nope, that's just terrible. So it's not minus 90 on the y, we know that. And I think it might be positive on the x. So that should be 0. And I think this one's plus 90. Yeah, send it the other way. It could be plus 90 on the y as well. So if we do a 90 on the x, that'll tell us if we're off on the y. We are off on the y by 90. And that's it. That's all there is to it. There we go. But I think that means radius should be times 2. We'll see. Our time's obviously working. Challenge time. As we're incrementing. Wow! That looks really cool, but the line's off. Why is the line off? Yeah, I think it's because we're getting some like 100 something frames a second. It can't keep up. Stress. So, after an hour and 6 minutes, we managed to get that bit. Not bad. Looking good. But X and Y's are off completely. Our maths is terrible here. We really do need to fix this. But if you're going to add 90 to your X and Y's here, you need to start at 90, 90 on your X and Y's on your line. So is it radius times 2 in here times maths? There we go. Keyboard is playing up. Can we put it like that? Lost from a double to an end. What a surprise. Wow. Still got a problem with that. Okay. So that'll be the same except it's it's not the plus 9. Probably have to get rid of the plus 9 with that. And then that's let's have a look at that. This is changing the movement of the XY, or increasing the XY. Probably by 90 degrees too much. There we go. But at the end of our pin, if you like, it's still off the end of that. How can this have an XY value and that have the same XY value and be off? This makes no sense. Alright. Yeah, we did say it was 90 too long though. Wow, we're getting some fruity results now. You don't like it when I do that. Wow. We're seriously calculating something wrong there. I'm not having these as ints. Just have to deal with it. What I am going to cast to an int is the x and the y's. That's wrong there. That's right. That's a double. Just makes that and that castable. Do a double there. And that's how we sort that out. Don't know what that flickering was there. Wow, it's still off. Yeah, it does not like the that was the original. The draw line should be off now, but everything else should be kosher. These should be 0, 0. Yeah, bizarre. There's some really bizarre movement out of it now. Seems the X and the Y is off by 90 again. But we still got the 90s in there on the line, haven't we? -6, +6. We got the -6 on this oval. No, that's kind of made it worse. It's the clock reaching out for time. But the line starts in the right place. It's amazing. Yeah, really bizarre this is working out. And even if I put the 90 back in now, because these are doubles being converted to ints there, it's not liking this at all. Wow. Why is that 90 off? I do not understand that. Add the 90 into both of those and it's perfect. Almost. The line and the ball still off. Granted, they're both travelling around that circle perfectly. Not going over either side. But then the line's faster at certain parts than the ball. What? How does that work? I think we should be drawing the line after the oval. Is my theory on that, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. That way, then the ball should be in front. Stress. No, it just looks like it's dragging the ball in certain parts, and pushing the ball at others. Then it's perfect for about 20 degrees. Another 20 degrees up there, and then back again. Alright, so doesn't look as perfect as it does in the coding challenge on YouTube, but I can live with that, that's fine, he says. But we know it's to do with the integer double conversion, which it doesn't like in here. I think we should make these double X, double Y, and we should have an int X. And an int Y. And then just cast them before they get used. So it's double X and double Y. Don't know if that'll make any difference whatsoever, but at least we don't have to cast them while we're drawing, which might cause a problem in the processor. If you're not getting the straight numbers in that you're looking for, now you are. Why it needs 90 degrees, I do not know. But I figure it's got to be radius times 2 in there, but no, because we're only going around the radius, aren't we? Alright, that does actually look a bit smoother, but it's still slightly off at points. But it's better. I'm going to switch them around again. So to sort out our X and Y values, I've had to make doubles out of that plus the 90 and then convert them back to integers before I draw with them. So that was all fun. But yeah, there's the first part of the code complete. There's our render. So we copied the G2D into, a version of its own we can use in there. We got a copy of the old transform from the original. We translated the canvas 200 by 200, but as you saw, this canvas is on top of the black background. So if we set another background here, you would see it on the top, but it'd be translated 200 by 200. And I think I can demonstrate that now. No, the translate is happening after the fill rectangle, so it wouldn't work. So no point trying to show that. Could put it translate before, but then gotta put it back. But there's our render anyway. We translate it. We set the radius to 100 every time. That's bad programming. And we need to call this somewhat other than radius. What is this? The radius of the Fourier. Fourier radius might be better. But as soon as we're setting it, it's not changing every time, and we're losing processing over that. I'm just going to make that a let's spell that right. And it's going to be a permanent fixture at 100. And I'm going to move that up the top, obviously, to make it a global variable. And then we need to change the username. And we could even put that in the setup the challenge ready, couldn't we? Then it equals 100. But then we'll just declare it at the top here, underneath the time. And we don't need a value in there. Just our setup is being called. Let's get some comments in there. And I'm not sure this radius should be an integer either, even though we put it as 100 here. Yeah, we need it in the radiuses here as well. That's Fourier radius. Right. And again, we may need Fourier radius times 2 as a variable. So bear that in mind. Although I guess we could just do what we got there. What was I doing? We're still not got any tick apart from the update in the local timer, the challenge timer. That seems to be updating fine. Our filled oval is rolling around our drawn oval, stroke oval, without much problems, and our line is also coming out at the right place and following the right path, thanks to our new double X, double Ys. So, still getting 100 frames a second over. See how much more we can get out of this. Yeah, excuse that. I'm gonna pause this a sec. Alright, so apparently we need to add a wave in here. It's go not but yeah, it's gonna be I think it's an integer array, and it's called wave. We may have to do that as a list. It's just an empty array stone. And we'll render. I'm creating these Y's here. We just need wave dot toString. No, it's not dot, is it? Wow. What can we use as a are we gonna have to do a list? How do we do this? New array list. Sign up. Got to import array list from util. I'll just click move initialize to constructor and it decided to ignore me. Now what's it telling me? There's no point in putting it there. Messing up commented code. Oh, in. I forgot how to set these up. More code scrambling. I think it's enemy. New array list, we gotta have the type in this. Yeah. Integers. Is that gonna work? Guess not. What about with none? Still got a problem. Oh, clearly I have no way. I just don't like array list. You know what? Just have an int array. Like I told you in the first place. Now we need a count because every time we need to add this y value to here, we need to add it in. What's it gonna be? In I equals y. But we don't have I, so we start. We need to create I just for that. Where's the count? We need two counts and then let's call it challenge count. And once we reset it, increase it. What a really backwards way of doing things. Oh. You're going to need the y values for this next bit, which is drawing points. Great. It should be lots of fun. And that should be before the line in the oval. Then under here, before we reset the transforms, we need a for loop. And we can use I. That was I is less than wavelength grey. Wave doesn't have a length, I'm pretty sure. It does on an array. We're lucky we used an array. If we tried that list, it would have been a problem. I plus plus. So we've got a list. Now we need to draw a point. And I don't think there is such a thing as draw a point. So it's going to have to be an oval. Polygons. Draw shape. I don't even know how to make shapes. So it looks like we're going to have to draw an oval. Again. And this is going to be it's point I, wave I. We have the vector maths, so I'm sure I can create a point here. The y here is wave I. And the x is I. But these would just be 1 pixel by 1 pixel. Just to draw a point. Instead of bringing in the vector maths. Let's see what that does. The wavelength starts at the first y to the last y. And then it goes through them and draws it over across that. Is that going to give us any errors? No. Oh, we got an error. Array. No pointer in the array. See, we don't know how many is going to be put in it. So we can't say like new array 20 values, because we just don't know. New array, can you do that? Alright, works. Probably have to put 300 values in there. Wow, we got somewhere. It was drawing somewhere. I think we're 90 degrees off either way. Yeah, it's definitely going to need 300 at least. Yeah. So that would work. What is the problem with it? We got to 300 real quick. But it's 90 degrees off on the X. Probably on the Y as well. That's not good. I'm going to give it 3,000 values. But I know we're going to have to use a list. And that should start at 9 on the X. Let's try that. No, it's the Y. So the X is starting at 90. So Y plus 90. Try that. That should have dropped that point down, but it didn't. Try that. Alright, so our X minus 90 is wrong, I believe. I've not even ran this demo to see if I've got it right or not. Yeah, there's certainly something wrong. And we're down to 8 frames a second, that's terrible, with 3 fives in value, so... Oh. And it's the X, so we don't need the 90 yet. Right, I get it. So this is not a set of points that we're drawing, it's actually a new shape. In which these 1 by 1 ellipses are actually vertices of that shape. But I've never drawn a shape in my life, so I wouldn't know if I was going right or not. But 7 frames a second is terrible. Alright, so that kind of works, but our maths is certainly off somewhere. Couldn't tell you where, but it's one of them. I'm sure we're off here, you know. I'm sure that this is nonsense. And I think it's ×2 on this. Yeah, that just really messes things up. Yeah, it's lots of fun trying to hack this up. Wow. So in here anyway, we need I think it facts before that. We need to start here by drawing a shape. Is it create? Draw. And then a shape inside. New shape. Guess we don't do that. I'll have to come back to this. I do need a new shape. Alright. Okay, I got it. I really do think I got it this time. So, we're getting these points. X is the I and wave I is the Y. And then we're using them to draw the oval. That's kind of wrong. We need some storage for I and wave I. And then we need to draw a shape, a general polygon, apparently. So this is wrong here. Get rid of that. Fact. That bit will be needed, that one. So after we get the points, then we'll draw the polygon, which is going to be gold polygon. 'cause that's how I roll. And I'll probably spell it wrong. There's a polyline. I should be looking up. Strange. I have no idea where I am. You hear about that? People flying planes to this space-time disorientation. That's exactly how I get when I'm looking at code. So, wait, what day is it again? Yeah, in here we need to grab these variables up and we need to stick them in another array. Excuse me. I'm just going to call it wave X and wave Y. And let's give it a value. Wait. It's not equals, is it? It is. These are going to be I's. And wave X is going to equal the I. The wave I is going to be the value with that. And that will build up our points that we need to build this polygon with. I keep calling it a polygon, it might be a polyline at this point. Who knows, it could be one or the other. And if you know the difference between a polygon and a polyline, please write in with the answers on the postcard because I get a clue. Wave X, wave Y, create fields. We're no longer drawing ovals. We now have wave X, wave Y. No idea what we're supposed to do with that. But the next line of code would be general path. And that's going to be the polyline. Told you it was a polyline. And that means that's a polyline. Now, how do we create this polyline? With these wave X and Y's. We declare it new polyline. This is new general path. And there's some parameters to go in there. General path. Dot. Wind even odd. Whatever that means. Yeah, we want that one. And then the point's length. Are they going to be the same? Yeah, the length of wave is going to be the same as I. So it doesn't matter which one. I choose wave X dot length. What's this problem with that? It's probably going to want an no, it's here. Equals. Wow, did that. So we're creating a new polyline using this general path that I've just found on the Oracle website when it talks about drawing shapes. And before we get to draw the poly, we need to first of all move the polyline to the very first points. These are expecting doubles. Right. Why would you, doubles? What do you mean doubles? You can just have the X and the Y like it. I don't care. No, it's not X and Y, I'm going nuts. It's the first wave, wave X. So, wave Y, 0. So basically what we're saying is the first X and Y value that we get in this wave, which is determined by the Y here and the I here, move to that point before we start drawing this polyline, which is the next step. But the next step's in a for loop. It's a bit of a jazzy for loop with some of the technical language it's using, but it's a for loop. So int index no equals 1. As long as index is less than x2 points length, yeah, which is the same length we used here, wave x length. So until there's no more x's left, index plus plus, I believe. That's that. There's our for loop. So we're starting to collect our y values here for this. Put them in the wave array. Don't worry about the oval and the draw line. We're then setting these up as x and y values. Then we're creating a general path using the length of those values. We're moving the start of the shape to the start of those values. And now we're going to iterate through them and draw a polyline. First is the polyline dot line 2. And again, it needs some variables in there. And it's the these, but with the index, not the I, so we don't get confused. Then index instead of I. So creating a polyline from the start point, creating lines for every value there is after the 0 value, because we're going to start the lines from 1 backwards and then backwards, then backwards. Then the final line will be connected to the second to last line. That way we don't have to do -1 here, starting at 0 and then go backwards and things like that. And that should draw the polyline after that. There should be no reason there, except we need to translate in here before we draw this, and I'll show you why. What if it didn't crash on me? No pointer exception. Wave X was not initialized with a number of values, and he set his on this video to 250 values, so I don't know, maybe we should be using that, but we definitely need to use the same amount of values as wave. So if we change this, we need to change these too. But yeah, that was our only problem there. Alright, so we do have this curve going on, and I assure you it's going further along in there, which means our polyline's working, and we got our frames back because we're not drawing all that many circles, ellipses and that. But that translates off. We do need to translate from the edge of the circle, I think, or maybe 200 out on the translate. Ooh, how do we do this? Let's stop talking about it, just do it. Alright, so we're gonna translate here to 200. But we need another translate after the fill oval, I believe. But it's not 200, 200. And our screen really needs to be wider for this to be 200 there, so I'm going to try and put that down to 100. Is that the first translate? No. Put that down to 100 and leave that at 200. See what we get with that. Should have a shape on the left and the circles and that on the right. Here we go. That's a bit clearer to see. You might not want every value. And we've gone up on the Y as well. What's that? Oh no, we've gone down on the Y with this one. We shouldn't have done that. So the second translate, we've gone 200 down, too far. That needs to be on 0. You'll see why in a minute. Okay. Still trying to figure out why our scale is so different to what I see on the screen. I need to look at this code a bit more. I know we need to translate this over on the X a little more than that, probably 300. Okay. Now if we move everything 100 back and stretch this screen, I think the screen size is the problem, but maybe it's our radiuses here. Translate, do a 50 on that. And that's all the rotation and the circle and the line. And then the general path is at 300, which we can now move back a bit. Alright, getting there. So we need the line coming from the start of here to there, I think. But we definitely need to stretch this image, I believe. This screen. So the screen is where is the screen set? Main width, main height. So we only need to change it in here. It's the width we're concerned with, which is what is the average screen size? Ooh, try the 800 by 800. And now we'll figure out if I've messed this up somewhere else, because I think game might have a different size. Yeah, why is that so stretched? 250 values. Try that. Oops. Yeah, somewhere along there we've got more than 250. About 500. Because we've stretched the screen size now. but it's still the same on the height. Oh, yeah, we can't do it. There's no way of getting that around with the no values in there either, is there? No, I certainly don't like that. Oh, 3,000 it is. But even if we did 2,000 each, it's still gonna get an out of balance. There's another line that goes in from here to this point that we need to put in. But again, I'm going to stretch the screen a little. We don't seem to have made the 2,000 values yet, but yeah, I'm wondering why the scale on this polygon is so big. General path of the wavelength, about half the wavelength. Is that going to do it? Is that going to cause an error? Array out of bounds. I like, we got 5,000 frames a second there, that was impressive. Yeah, don't know why we're just going straight off the screen. Now we stop. We're hitting that array out of bounds. Wow. How does this work? How can we set an array with unknown values? That's what I don't get. Strange. Really don't understand how to do it like that. But yeah, let's not mess about. Let's give it 4,000 each so we don't run into that very often. Just sweep that bit under the carpet for now. But before we begin this shape, after we translate, straight after we translate, before we even get the waves, we need another line. So I'll just grab this code out. But it's not 9090 xy. It is x minus 200 or minus 300. So that's our translate. Y is just y. The second x is 0. And the third y is wave 0. Or y0 if you like, the first 0 that comes out. And that should draw a line between the circle clock hand, whatever you want to call it. As expected. But we're still going off screen here, majorly. I have no idea about that. Up and down. It's traveling very slowly across this here. So what does that mean? X is going. It's our time. Our time is wrong. I'm going to speed that time up. So we'll probably run out of space in these arrays quicker. But the up and down should be shallow. There we go. Job complete. Print screen. Done. Alright, so just have a look at that. If you increase the timer, we get that. We don't need any of this, then, so I'm going to take this out. Just to clean up the code. So all that's happening in the tick is the update of the timer, which we've now increased. Challenge count is actually our wave count, or is it Y count? Guess it's challenge render count, however many times it goes through, but we've got a maximum here at the moment of 4,000, so if we render more than 4,000 times, forget it, we're gonna crash. We'll have call no breaks in that respect with these arrays. We need to know a final value really, or we need to use something that doesn't require, you know, the initial value. Yeah, not too sure how to set up arrays is the short answer there, but this is our draw the poly lines of code, where in the video is using JavaScript, and he's got vertex here with these values. It's actually these values, he's put the vertexes in here, but I've had to create two more arrays for the x and the y instead of creating a vertex, a point, or a vector, which I could have used. I could have used a vector there, and then just add vector x here and vector y there. What is it? Vector I x, one or the other. Either way, add an array of vectors. Yeah, but this piece of code actually gets the x and y values for the polyline, which we then set up and have to draw out our lines of our poly before we actually draw it to the screen, and then we go through the index and create these here. The wave x is just created by the I on the wavelength. So again, you could use something else there that holds the y, and then just use the index of that object to iterate through and be the x. But we've used I in that case, so that kind of works. But I think I did a good translation over from JavaScript to get this. We've got our waypoints, polyline, resetting the transforms, updating the count. Alright, so it's the count that does us in the end. The challenge count. If the challenge count goes over 5,000, then we get an error, or 4,000. We need to set a variable up. Max wave. I'll just do it as a equals 4,000. Then we can just plug that in and change that where we need to. Why has it got a problem with that? Non-static max wave. Is that one static? Why does that need to be static? Not using it outside this class. Alright, yeah, bizarre. Now we can use max wave in if statement. Say if the challenge count is less than the max wave, then plus plus max wave minus 1. It's probably a better check. else challenge count equals 0. And we just send them back to the start. Do it all over again instead of running into that error. I don't know if we need the -1 there. I'm just guessing that it's a good thing to have. So yeah, now if we run it, we shouldn't get into any problems, but it will probably take 10 minutes to get through those 4,000 values. So I don't know if I've got time to do that, or you have. But yeah, that's what I got so far. It's never going to run out of values because it's going to reset at 0. But why does that look different? Does this need to be translated up a bit more? Our Y values have gone to 0 straight. Challenge count is less than max wave. Plus plus, else challenge count equals 0. Then it should plus plus again afterwards. Yeah, as you can see, little errors everywhere, but even in the maths from the start, this looks backwards. We've got a start of our line there, a reverse there, right? Our index needs to go backwards here when we're creating these lines. That's why it starts from 1. How do we do the negative? It's gonna have to start to wavelength, isn't it? As long as index is greater than wavelength -1, then minus minus. Ooh, that looks dodgy. That is starting at the end. As long as the index is not greater than length -1, not less than 0. Greater than 0. I think that logic's right. Now we should be drawing the line at the polyline backwards. No, we crashed because we can't do a raise backwards. That exception out of bounds 0. Maybe that's 1. Or maybe that's -1. Maybe that's -1. Oh, this is going crackers. Array out of bounds? No? Alright, okay. And now we've got this line going to the wrong spot. No, we had it right the first time. Why is it drawing backwards? Why is it drawing backwards? That's terrible. We need to reverse the XY values. And the only way I know how to do that is in a list, not an array. How do we get these values in reverse? Oh, drawing the line in reverse is no good. Let's make sure that's back. See this bit here where it's going up and down? This should be this side. And I've no idea how to do that. Unless we do this one in reverse, which is a possibility. So again, this is wavelength. As long as I is greater than 0, maybe. I minus minus. And that should put them in reverse. But I think we're going to have a problem with that 0. Because 0 would be the final value there. And we need to never reach that final value. As long as it's greater than 1. Which is wrong, because 1 is not the final value, is it? Second. Wow. We're really messing up now. Minus 1 here. 0 here. There's probably going to be a 1 there, but anyway. Out of bounds exception, index array out of bounds. Wow! No, it's still doing the same thing, isn't it? We're not doing it in reverse order. How do we get this to go in reverse order? That is bizarre. I'll be back on this anyway, but I'm going to leave it there for now. Say challenge complete. Probably 2 hours, 10 minutes. Anyway. Yeah, we don't need any of this code in there. And leave the rest in there just to explain things. Yeah, I can't believe it. Drawing it backwards. Now we're feeling it's probably just 90 degrees here. If we negative 90 degrees, I bet that's really going to mess things up. Yeah, because our lines are going to be off. Oh, okay. Still seems to be drawing it backwards. Yeah. Even though with the 90 it's the wrong way. Yeah. Can I say? It's about as far as I can get with that. But this line started at the wrong point. And I can't remember which line that is, but it's got the wrong end of the stick. It's because we're going backwards here with the -1. -1 there, was it? Okay. This line should be to the other end of that, and this should be off the screen, and the other bit should be drawing. Bizarre. Do we want to move to there? Poly length. switch up. Oh, here we go. Balance at 4 grand. -1. I think that's just going to be 3,999 on the Pixel X. Yeah, it seems to be. Well, that didn't work out right. These being in reverse aren't very good either. Go back to the I equals 0 here. As long as I is less than wavelength. And I plus plus. But yeah, it's about as far as I can get, I think. We're drawing it backwards. It's just a case of sorting the numbers. I think he said we're going at the phase or the amplitude here only. And we should be doing the frequency or something like that. But we should also be able to reverse these numbers as well. So we're not drawing out off the screen, we're drawing here only, and everything that's drawn is off the screen like a polygraph. Yeah, well, that's the first circle. We'll come back and do the second one, and then we'll move on to the Fourier transforms to draw pictures. Drawing with Fourier transforms and epicycles. This is the start of an epicycle. We need another circle here. Connected to this one, doing the same thing as this one, and another one connected to that to make it an actual Fourier. Is it Fourier transform? Yeah, well, it's a Fourier series. But we need two more of these circles to make it a proper one. And I don't know if I can add them now. Probably add them in another tutorial. Another video. Anyway. We've just hit our 4 grand and we went over, which is bad because we put a test in not to go over on our challenge count. So it's max wave -1. Can never hit that value. Yeah, because if max wave challenge count is less than max wave -1, then it adds 1, then it's going to be at the max and it's going to crash. So we need to reset it before that. That's the logic there. But yeah, there's that Fourier series. Halfway to an epicycle, I think. It's still drawing backwards. That's just bad. Really, really bad. Yeah, we need to fix that. But it's a sorting problem. We need to sort these values in reverse order. As soon as I figure out how to do that, I'll plug it in. But that's my first attempt. Took about 2 hours to put through. But yeah, just need to sort these numbers in reverse. But it looks pretty, don't it? Looks prettier from the start. When it first starts drawing, but not bad. Alright, see you next time.